Alright, welcome back everybody to Fire Emblem. We're gonna do Victory or Death. Hector moves ahead in his brother's Uther's dying wish to go with him. His destination's the Dread Isle. An enemy waits there. One who must be defeated. Nurgle surrounds himself with morphs and waits for Hector's arrival. Final battle draws near. Victory or Death. Well, we've arrived. Vargas, I can never thank you enough. No need to worry about that. Are you sure you don't need our help from here? Vargas' pirate crew makes women smile and villains revile. We could be helpful. Thank you for your concern, but from here, we go alone. We don't have any idea what will happen. We'd like you to deliver a message if you would. Even if we are successfully delete Nurgle, there's no saying that we'll survive the battle. We might, if we do not return, apologize for the inconvenience, but I'll worry about that when the time comes. Do not worry. Thank you. And also about Nils. And now I'll take responsibility for him. Nils, we're going now. We're going to shatter Nurgle's ambitions and bring him down. You wait here and rest until we get back, okay? Nils, I don't think you'll forgive me no matter how I apologize. Just hear me out. Our power is no match for Nurgle, even so, we cannot give up. I have to fulfill Ninian's wish too. I will never ever flee from that duty. So I want you to face reality as well. It doesn't have to be now, but when we are past the pain, when you've recovered, I'm sure that is what Ninian would want too. Okay, Vargas, we're going. Hey, don't mess up the pups. Oh, I dart a moment. Yeah, what is it, Captain? There's something you want to tell me? What? Alright, fine. Keep going. Okay. Dart. What is it? Don't come back dead. Is that it? Of course I'm not going to die. Oh. Saved my life 5 years back. If I went and lost it now, you would have my hide for a rug. I'll do whatever it takes to get back alive. Aye, is that so? Then get going. Better watch after those whelps too. Aye aye, Captain. Well, it's time to get back aboard and wait. Come on, lad. Oh, I forgot. I was supposed to give him something important. Something that'll come real handy in the battle. Can't believe I forgot it. Nothing to be done but to send someone after them. I'll go. Well, are you sure you want to do it? I am. That's a relief. Live and return, whelp. Yep. So they're coming. Go, Lemistel. Bring their essence to me. Sire. I have given you magic stronger than any seen on the continent. Through this magic, you've gained much power. Perfect strength, perfect beauty. You are my masterpiece, Lemistel. Your flesh cannot endure the power of this sorcery. Before tomorrow, your entire body will be corrupted. But this is what you desire, yes, a chance to die for me. As you wish. Power overwhelming. So far, so good. A little more and we'll be at the Dragon's Gate. We got here without much trouble. Wonder when Greybeard will show up. What do you want us to do? Wait? Let me think. But Ellen, look out! Thunder. Nils, you came. I did. I can't run away any longer. I'll take Ninian's place. I have to do her part. No, I have to do Ninian's part and mine. I'll fight with you and we'll change the course of fate. Well spoken. Now you sound like a man. Nils, I'm glad to see you. Sorry for worrying you. I am fine now. And now, stop skulking and come out. I know you're there. Hmm? What? Ah, who? Lemistel. The one who's always at Nurgle's side. Ebony hair, gold pupils, you're a morph, aren't you? Come for your quintessence. Come out, my humble servant. We have to fight through our way through. No matter how many there are, we cannot retreat. He hasn't called any dragons yet. If we go now, we might still have time to stop him. Chris, it begins. The final battle. Not actually the final battle. I've already picked my units previously to all this. I'm going to bring Carla along with me. Mainly just so I can put her next to Bartray and maybe get some of her companion speech stuff. For the most part, everybody's already set up on the map, which I will just show real quick. These guys are going this direction. These guys are going this direction. And then we'll probably split the party somewhere in here. And then diagonally this way. And they'll meet up right about here. Head straight for the boss. So, we're gonna try to hit the markers. This ruin's here. This ruin here has, I believe this has, the bishop. I can't remember his name off the top of my head now, though he may be here as well. I don't know. We'll find out. Figure it out. We gotta move as fast as possible. Because if I can do this under 20 turns, we'll get an extra mission. If I don't, then we'll just go on to the last area. So, give us a run. Lord Hector, it's you. Earth Seal, how'd you get this? Vargas told me to give it to you. Are you telling me the old man had this all along? He did. Say it would help you in battle, but is it really that special? Yeah, it's a valuable as a heaven seal. Doesn't matter where we use it, just so long as we use it. I know I'm not gonna end up using it because I have all my guys classed already. You are Chris, this army's general, right? What a tactician? Well, either way, do not be shy if you need work done. Use me. I do not enjoy battle, but I have my skills. Other than being totally worthless, of course. She just joins way too late. If she had joined at the level she's at, you know, 3 chapters ago, we could train her up. But here she is on the 3rd from the last chapter. If you count the Gaiden chapter that you can do between here and there. You can do this chapter, Gaiden chapter, final chapter. I understand if you're doing class ups, or not class ups, what do they call that stuff? I call them companionship bonuses, that's wrong. Anyways, if you do those, you do the conversations, you have just enough time to finish off the remainder of her conversations. For instance, Bartray and her, they would have a conversation in this level. They could have a conversation in, say, next level. And then they would have their final conversation in the final level. It's a little quick, considering you're setting up a character who, A, is going to appear in the next game, and the literal wife of the character that's going to show up in the next game. Or, I'm sorry, the literal mother of the wife and mother of 2 characters from Fire Emblem 6, Bartray, and I think her name is Fir, F-I-R, her. Yeah, they have a kid, and she's a Myrmidon, and she's okay if I remember correctly. Other news, I don't know what I'm going to do after this finishes airing. I have been tempted to play through, because I have started playing, Monster Hunter Wilds. Tempted to, and I've got a couple recordings of that actually. I've got like an hour or so of recording of the beginning of that game. Considered switching over to that. I know I've been talking a lot about Hector's Heart. I've thought about going straight into Hector's Heart. My brother Greg wants me to play Pikmin 2, which unfortunately Pikmin 2 is a little bit on the back burner right now because, not because it's not like literally It's like, it's okay. It's on the back burner, but it's on my stove, okay? It's getting ready to be cooked, but I'm just not there, not ready for it yet. Versus Monster Hunter Wilds, which is like clearly in the front of my burner, and I want to test out and see how that goes. So here's an interesting little factoid about myself that no one really cares about, but I'm going to say it anyways because I think it's interesting. I think all things are interesting in their own, in some way. You know, the emotional things make me sad. They don't. Okay, let's rewind that. Emotional things don't always make me sad, but I have trouble dealing with more emotional things than I do with mental things. Like, you try to explain to me, you know, a political point of view. I'm at least willing to, even if I don't necessarily agree with it because it doesn't feel right to me or doesn't make sense to me, I'm willing to at least entertain your thoughts. See how, you know, what do you bring to the table? What is sort of what I would call bullshit? What is, you know, something that maybe could be, you could use, or and you can make a good point, you know what I mean? A lot of people get trapped in this idea that, you know, you're either for or against, particularly the United States, because there's only two parties. You're either for or against. You're either for the Democrats, you're against them. You're either for the Republicans, you're against them. And mind you, each one of those parties have different delineations within them, but they all caucus together. So you have more progressives, you have more, you know, people that are more interested in the economy, people that are more interested in, say, socioeconomic or social issues, you know, trying to push those forward, equality, that kind of bullshit. But I sometimes have trouble, like, when you start talking emotionally. I don't know if it's because I'm a dude. Dudes don't talk about their emotions at all. We're just taught to bottle them up until they eventually spill over into either violence or depression or irritability at work. I don't know. But, I don't know. Life's not perfect, but I very much feel that I've been blessed in this world. Lots of things you can look around, do, and I've talked about this before. You could do the belly button looking, which is like you're always looking at your belly button going, oh, woe is me. You can also think about all the wonderful things that are in the world to experience and how great those things are, even if they are annoying sometimes. Like, for instance, great example. I'm not a big fan of trying to sleep through a thunderstorm because it's fucking obnoxious. And, you know, you don't know when the next lightning bolt's gonna come, so it could just fucking get right over your head and scare the shit out of you. Because guess what? Flash bang, it's right there. Instantaneously, there's no flash bang, you know, where you prepare yourself for it. You know it's coming. You just don't know how far away it is. And particularly when the storm's coming towards you, and you're seeing the flash, and then you're hearing the rumbling in the distance, and you hear flash, bang. Then it gets closer and closer and closer, and then it pushes away farther and farther away. You know. But the point I'm trying to get at is, in some ways, it's different, and it excites me a little bit. I mean, I don't obviously want anyone's house to get destroyed. I don't want anyone's property to get flooded. I don't want lightning to strike your house or anything. But I just think in terms of a natural phenomenon, particularly something that I only see generally in the summertime months, it doesn't exist usually ever in the winter. It's just kind of nifty to have it. And again, I kind of live in the Northeast, where you got a winter. You don't have winter. You have a winter, a type of winter that's not super terrible. It's not. You're not a what do they call those people now? You're not a you know, tribal Canadian Nanook, I think is what they're called, or something to that extent. We used to call them Eskimos, but Eskimo apparently means fish eater, so that's super offensive now, so no one's allowed to use that word, even though that was sort of a word that we came up with, or I don't know. It became applied to it. It's like, you know, what do you call that? That's called a window. Oh no, you can't call that anymore because that's offensive. Okay, I don't know what to tell you then. It's just a word to me. It's not supposed to be prejudice or whatever. Anywho, getting back to my point. Because I live in the Northeast, I get snow, but we generally don't get a ton of snow. We don't get, like, occasionally we get a blizzard, but it's not. That's also unique. You get a blizzard maybe like, I don't know, once every 5-10 years or so, maybe even longer. Usually it's just one big snowstorm every year, or two big snowstorms you gotta worry about every year. I know I've probably mentioned this before in other playthroughs. I love my car. It's a front-wheel drive car. But when we get snow, all I can think about is, why didn't I get an all-wheel drive vehicle? And again, I don't think about it the other 360 days of the year. The 5 days or so that we get of snow, I gotta drive from here to work, or from here to my parents' house, or wherever. It's just like, I don't know what to do. Because, like, my car does not handle poorly in snow. It just doesn't handle quite to the way that, like, an all-wheel drive vehicle or a 4x4 would handle. And you're doing a little bit of, I'm not saying I'm doing a little bit of a risk. I mean, it is a little bit of a risk to leave your house when it's snowing, whether you got a foot of snow or no snow, you know, an inch of snow. I get that. But, I don't know. I think, again, I'm going to get back to my point. I think a lot of ways you can look at it in wherever you are in this world, for the most part. I know there's very glaring exceptions to this rule that I'm about to say, but there's always things to be that you can feel blessed about. You know what I mean? Like, I'll give you an example. In the United States, food tends to be more expensive than in more impoverished places. Okay, where obviously if you can't feed yourself, you're gonna starve and die. That's not a good thing. That's a bad thing. But when I was down in Colombia, I mean, I wouldn't say the people around there were necessarily super rich, but they found ways to make do with the means that they have. You know, does that mean that they're driving Lexuses around? No, they're not driving Lexuses around. They're driving these very small, very compact vehicles that don't have very much luggage/trunk space. But when you think about what you're doing in these countries, unless you're working and you need a truck, the vehicle is just designed to get you from A to B. You know, it's a transport vehicle. It's not a luxury, not necessarily a luxury symbol. I mean, I imagine if you owned a car, I use Colombia because I visited there and I got to sort of see what the world's like down there. Not that all of Colombia is like this. I mean, there's plenty of places that you go, you know, into Bucaramanga, or you go into Bogota, and you know, you're dealing with city life. Now you drive up the mountain, because everything in Colombia is mountain. You drive up the mountain, not only are you changing temperature and climate in a lot of cases, but you're also changing your environment. So you're getting into maybe a more rural environment or more mountainous environment. And then if you head towards the Gulf, then you're dealing with more closer to what we in America would call Florida. Getting closer and closer to that equator line, and it's flat and there's beaches and shit, and I don't know. I feel like, again, I know there's exceptions. I know if you live in some sort of war-torn area, that's not great. You're living in the Middle East, not great at all. I on one hand, I feel for you, but at the exact same time, so emotionally distant from it, and so culturally distant from it that it's just the news to me. I get the fact that you know, people are being displaced and bombed, killed, and children are losing their lives before they even get a chance to have them. And I understand that's not paradise by any stretch of imagination. But I know this is where a lot of people lose their faith. When the bad stuff happens, but I don't know. As terrible as it is that all things have their time and all things are what we would call in God's plan. And I understand. You don't want to believe that. You don't want to believe in destiny. You don't want to believe in fate. I get that. I like to pretend, at least to myself every morning, that when I get up and make the decisions that I make, that they're my own decisions uniquely. Whether or not God knows everything that I'll ever do in my life, from my first breath to my last breath, I can't know these things. I can't necessarily ponder them either, because they're so beyond my understanding. Now, there's also philosophy that God knows what you're going to do up until the point that you make the decision to do it. And I don't necessarily subscribe to one philosophy or another, but the nature of humans being able to have free will allows them to alter not only their future, but everybody else's future. In other words, the future becomes, I wouldn't say necessarily random, because everyone has their motivations for doing things that they do. But in a way, and I know I'm being sacrilegious when I say these things, but in a way, I mean, I can't know whether or not every action, every breath is accounted, is already known from the beginning of time to the end, the quote unquote beginning of time to end of time. I can't know. As a human being, I just can't know. And I know that's cop out. People don't like that. But that's the nature of being a human. You make theories, you make assumptions about things based on the information you currently have. You look into the stars and see all the stars in the sky, and you say, well, what are those? Those are angels, those are stars, those are suns, those are planets. And you have 9 planets in the solar system. Then you look at it and you go, well, Pluto's just a giant rock that's sort of orbiting. Not really a planet, it's like a dwarf planet. So, in terms of science, we rewrite, well, there's actually 8 planets now. Which I know I love telling this story, but when I was young, little child, there were 9 planets, including Pluto, when I was growing up in elementary school. And there was a period there, we were in a sort of a unique time where the 8th planet from the sun, see here, I believe that's Uranus. Oh boy, I'm having a brain fart now. Anyways, the planet was farther because of its the way it orbited. It was actually farther away from the sun at that period of time than Pluto was. And then what would happen is, after so many years, I think it was a decade or two, not really sure, I'd have to again look it up, but after so long, what was going to happen is that the planet was going to come back into its regular orbit, and then Pluto would be again the farthest planet from the sun for another whatever 1,000 years or so. I don't know. Okay, so it's Neptune. I knew it was either Neptune or Uranus. I couldn't remember which one was which. I had a feeling that Uranus was probably after Saturn because it spins on its side, but I couldn't quite remember either because whatever. Anywho, so that's the story I always like to tell, is that when I was growing up, that Neptune was the farthest planet away from the sun, and that eventually it wouldn't be. But guess what? Pluto eventually became not a planet again anymore, so Neptune remains the farthest planet from the sun. I know that makes it's sort of a pointless fact because ultimately, you know, at a certain point, you know, scientists may look at the gas giants and go, well, the gas giants are actually this. They're not actually planets. And all of a sudden, Mars becomes the farthest planet from the solar system. Or conversely, you might find out in the future that, well, you know, Jupiter can, over the course of millions of years, can settle down and become inhabitable. I don't know. Or maybe Jupiter, I know they've talked about Jupiter supposedly being a failed star that just didn't take off at the same time that the sun did, and so ultimately it's stuck in as a gas giant in sort of limbo land. We'll just say forever. I don't know. Again, I don't know enough about astronomy, and I dare say I'm not sure we have a great grasp on. I would say I don't think we necessarily have a great grasp on our own planet, let alone planets farther away from us